Whoa, what's good with you, Yang Gang? This your boy Triple Cup Chuck, and I'm up. And man, what's good with you? How you doing today? On this beautiful day. Man, I was just listening to Andrew Yang, and I was like, his last interview, I didn't think it could get no better. But man, wait till I tell you about this next interview. It's like the swag is there. He kind of remind me of somebody I know, like Barack Obama. I mean, not the same swag as Barack Obama, but he kind of give you that presidential feel. You know what I'm saying? You feel what I'm saying? But look, when I was checking out Andrew Yang on this interview, it was like, man, Andrew Yang really going next level. Man, you don't believe me? After the introduction, check it out. Oh, appreciate you for rocking with me, man. You know what I'm saying? It's been a long time coming. I know I'm starting to get into the right groove. And you know what I'm saying? I appreciate it. So, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna go ahead and get this thing started. Video, let's go.
Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night. I'm up. Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night. I'm up. Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night. I'm up. Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night.
Say it is too early to read anything into any of the Democratic primary polling. One poll in particular has captured my attention. According to this survey by Emerson, presidential candidate Andrew Yang holds the fourth place spot among California voters. That means, by the way, that he is beating fellow contender Senator Kamala Harris in her home state. Andrew Yang joins me now with his reaction to that poll, his recent debate performance, and so much more. Great to see you, sir.
Oh, it's just great to see you too, Crystal. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So what's going on in California?
You know, they're catching on. The Yang Gang is growing in California. Thank you, Cali. And California, for those of you who are paying attention, you know that their early voting is going to start the same time as Iowa this year. So California is actually going to make its presence felt on Super Tuesday. I think they're tied for the fifth state to vote. Yeah,
most delegates available, so obviously very critical state there. Where else is the Yang message resonating in particular?
Well, I think a poll just came out that had us at 5% in New Hampshire, and I'm heading to New Hampshire very shortly, as you'd imagine, because you're running for president. I think this is going to be my 18th trip, I believe, but who's counting? So California, New Hampshire, heading to Iowa in a couple of days. Really, the message is catching on everywhere. Our national polling continues to rise. And after the last debate, we had over 500,000 people sign up for the Freedom Dividend, and they were all over the country. 500,000 people. Yep.
I mean, this is what was kind of interesting to me is that, you know, the debate, a lot of the pundits said, oh, it was like, you know, it was like a game show. They didn't take it seriously. Mayor Pete sort of laughed after you did your introduction. The New York Times gave you a very low rating. But then what has the public response been?
The public response has been tremendous. I mean, if you look at the web traffic on our site, again, 500,000 signups, and we got over 1 million in donations, most of it from new donors in the 72 hours after the debate.
Oh, wow.
So this... the American people are speaking in the most important way they can, which is with their, right now, with their donations and their signups.
Yeah.
Immediately, the first thing that I noticed is how they threw a jab at Kamala Harris about losing in California to Andrew Yang. They brought it in as his introduction. Amazing. And the way Andrew Yang came in up, y'all got to give it to him. The boy know his stuff. And he was showing the people that he was actually a real person. Like, if you notice, like, in tidbits, if you notice, Andrew Yang getting out his character and be like a regular person. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, then he'll come back, he'll bring it back down. You could tell he's been working on that. So he's showing you, like, he's intelligent, and at the same time, he's showing you his humanity side, like humanity first, his human side. So I love the way Andrew Yang just projects himself. So check out the swag. Just check out the swag. When I say he's going to show y'all, he is actually presidential. And then the other thing else, too, to show you that he presidential, is the way he was, you know, so that's old school, shaking them haters off. Way he shook them haters off when they were talking about, like, oh, they thought that your UBI was a joke. He said, when they were saying about the people, oh, the people loved it. You know, he ain't worried about what they think. They is not the people these are the people of it. That's the only thing that matters. And the way he was bringing out the whole thing about if he give people the money for instead of giving $1 million for advertisement, he could take that same $1 million and just give it to the people. They still can't wrap their head around that. It blows their mind. But anyway, though, back to the video.
What do you make of the media coverage of your campaign? I mean, something we've talked a lot about on the show, MSNBC calling you John Yang, right? Leaving your name off
old
of
John Yang.
That was amazing. I mean, and it wasn't just on the graphic. The anchor said the same thing, right? I mean, you're a top contender. You're one of the few that's making all the debate stages, and yet they still don't seem to take your campaign seriously. What do you attribute that to, and do you see that shifting at all right now?
We definitely see it shifting. The performance of our campaign is now indisputable. And so mainstream press, I think they're catching on, just like, frankly, our polling results continue to improve. And I will say that I've been somewhat mystified by some of the press treatment over the last number of days, but I think it's set to improve dramatically.
Yeah. Why do you think that you have been able to outperform a lot of members of Congress, governors, sitting senators? What do you think it is that people are responding to?
Well, I think Americans are very smart and they recognize the truth when they hear it. I'm talking about the real causes of Donald Trump's victory in 2016, the fact that we automated away millions of manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And now we're doing the same thing to millions of retail jobs, call center jobs, fast food jobs, eventually truck driving jobs, and that's going to be an epic disaster. So I have a very clear diagnosis of the problem and then a clear solution that Americans can also understand, which is a freedom dividend of $1,000 a month in our hands. And the message really for the American people is that this is possible if enough of us get together and make it happen.
Hey, hold on for 1 second. I get it. John Yang, John Wayne. At first I thought it was like John Doe. That was kind of stupid. John Yang, John Wayne. Okay, I get it. When Andrew Yang did that, I said, okay, I get it now. John Yang, John Wayne. I'm late. I'm sorry, but I just had to talk about that. But oh man, when he came out talking about the truth, like when they was asking about politicians and why people was gravitating to him, and he was saying, because he bringing out the truth, and he was saying about why President Trump got elected. He was talking about how they automated stuff away. All that was amazing how he did his thing. Man, what I want to say about Andrew Yang is he is getting better every time. If you notice the swag, just check him out. Just peep Andrew Yang out. We finna get back to the video. Let's go.
What is your message to Sanders supporters? Because I think you have a lot of folks who are backing you who maybe were Sanders supporters last time, or Bernie's their first and you're their second. Like, it seems like there's an overlap in the coalition there. What is your message to Sanders supporters for why they should get on board with the Yang gang?
What I'd say to them is I get it, because I was a Sanders supporter in 2016. I saw Bernie's message and I said, this is the right direction. I think I have a more modern approach and that I can reach some of the same goals in a more effective way. But I love Bernie supporters. I love Bernie. Bernie's a national hero that's helped move the country in the right direction.
So speaking of Senator Sanders, as you know, I sat down with him recently, and I asked him specifically about the idea of universal basic income, the freedom dividend in particular, and why he views a federal jobs guarantee as a superior way to deal with the threat of automation. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I think most people want to work. They want to be a productive member of society. I think it's a very deeply ingrained feeling that people have. They don't want to sit on the side. Yes, of course, getting a guaranteed income is better than having nothing and sleeping out on the street, that's for sure. But I think people want to be part of our humanity, to be truthful, and how we feel good about ourselves is when we are productive members of our society. We're contributing something. And I think people feel that very strongly. And I think there is more than enough work to be done in so many areas. And our job is to say, if you are able to work, we have a job for you. Because the truth is, we have so much work to do to rebuild this country in so many ways.
What's your response to that?
Oh my gosh. Where do I start? So there are a few issues. The big one is that Bernie's presenting it as if the American people all aspire to work for the federal government, and many of us do not. That's not the vision we have for ourselves and our careers and our lives. The second thing that he misses is that if you put this money into our hands, it creates hundreds of thousands of jobs right in our communities where we live and work, work that we'd be excited about doing. The third thing is that there are all these implementation problems in real life if you were to have a federal jobs guarantee. What are the jobs? who manages the people? What if you don't like your job? What if you're not good at your job? The spirit of it is fantastic, but the implementation would have a whole set of problems. But the biggest issue I have with this idea of a federal jobs guarantee is it ignores the sort of work that my wife does every day, who's at home with our 2 boys, one of whom is autistic. It ignores the kind of work that caregivers do every day, someone like Kyle Christensen, who's at home with his ailing mom in Iowa. A federal jobs guarantee does nothing for parents, nurturers, and caregivers. And to me, that's some of the most important work that any of us are doing.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I mean, you know what I think on this issue. I've advocated for UBI. I wrote about it in my book as well.
Really good book. If you have not picked up Crystal's book, you should. It's excellent.
Thank you. This was not an attempt to plug my book, but I do appreciate that.
Man, this one was the truth. Fire. All that good stuff. But look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut and I'm going to paste this at its own solo video on my channel. I would like for y'all to share the video, put it on y'all channel, take the video and put it on your channel. Just get it out there. Everybody needs to see it, because it resonate perfectly with me, because I used to be with Bernie Sanders. That's who I was going to vote for. And I love how Andrew Yang was saying, yeah, he was a Bernie supporter too. He just going to update everything Bernie was talking about, like update it all the way to the T. Like, so Bernie is like the 20th century. He's saying, look, he the 21st century Bernie Sanders. That's why we got UBI and not working for the government. And that's the other thing. Oh, he really burnt him. He burnt him. Man, did y'all just hear how Andrew Yang burnt him? Now, my thing is, I know Andrew Yang couldn't use this, but this is really what he means. You know, they're going to have a person on a job site not giving a shit. They don't care about doing nothing now. They know if you fire them, they're going to get another job tomorrow, or you can't fire them. So they just messing stuff up at a job instead of them saying, okay, we're going to give you your UBI. And most people, they feel more passionate about work when you're working for yourself. You'll feel a hell of a lot more passionate. Tell me one person that prefer to work for somebody and make the same amount of money and have the same amount of benefits, or you could work for yourself. Same amount of time, same amount of hours, but the difference is you're working for yourself. Who in a right mind would say, I'll work for this other person for the rest of my life and let them take vacations? Yeah, who gonna do that? But the guaranteed work thing, that is horrible. Because think about it like that. The only thing I'm saying is it's going to be jobs people don't want, and now they forced to have to work those jobs because that's the only thing that's guaranteed. So now you at a dead-end job, you're working for dead-end pay. You know what I'm saying? It might be saying livable pay, but you don't feel like you could never get above. That's just like you own a little raft boat. Now, you livable. You're on a raft boat, but you ain't got that yacht. You ain't living, but you livable. But anyway, though, let's go ahead and get back to this video. But anybody copy all that this part right here, I'm going to put it for its own. Matter of fact, I'm going to give it its own time to breathe first. Well, anyway, let's go.
But you know, the reality is, in America, we have had this obsession with work as life, right? Whether it should be this way or not, people really base their self-worth on the work that they do. They center their lives around it. Men in particular, when they lose their job, it's sort of this existential crisis.
Totally.
So how do you transition from that way of thinking, where we have sort of a religion of work in this country right now that's been in existence for, you know, quite a while at this point?
No, so what we have to do is we have to broaden our definition of what work is. I couldn't agree more with you that work is central to human existence. Now, it's also clearly the case that we've gone a bit overboard here in the U.S., where Keynes decades ago projected that we'd be down to a 15-hour work week now because we'd be so productive.
How's that working out?
Instead, he was actually right about our GDP and revenue growth, but he was wrong that unfortunately we're working harder than ever. So we have to start thinking a little bit or a lot bigger about what work actually is and what's important to us. That's a big challenge, but the biggest concrete way to move us in that direction is to put down a foundation in the form of a dividend of $1,000 a month, because that would supercharge arts, creativity, culture, volunteerism, entrepreneurship. It would also help balance the scales for women and underrepresented minorities who right now the market tends to shut out. So this is a concrete step we can take to actually broaden what we think of as work.
One thing that I hear from you in your answer about the federal government, and not everybody wants to work for the federal government, do you have a skepticism around the federal government's ability to sort of implement a federal jobs guarantee in an efficient way?
I do, in large part because I saw what happened when the government put billions to work in retraining the displaced manufacturing workers in the Midwest, which again, everyone knows is excellent in theory. But when you dig into the reality on the ground, these programs were an abysmal failure for most of those workers. Almost half of the manufacturing workers that lost their jobs never worked again. And of that group, about half filed for disability. And then you saw surges in suicides and drug overdoses in those communities. So we have to be realistic about what our government is able to do and what it's going to promise to do, but then will fail to deliver on.
I told y'all that boy was going to bring that fire. Nice fire video. And for everybody that's rocking, appreciate it. And I want to say this here for the people that's not a Yang supporter yet. What about, you might think about like this here, what if he's a one-trick pony, right? This might be the reason why. Let's take away all his other policies and all he's focusing on is UBI right now. And he's a one-trick pony. Now, what about it? Think about it like this here. If Andrew Yang was a one-trick pony and he did the math on UBI, and 4 years, we had 4 years of Trump. You have 4 years of Andrew Yang, and he implemented UBI. The next president that comes after him, he will see how good the UBI was, that if he take this away from the people, that he will not be elected. There might be a question. They say, oh, will you take away the UBI? And every person that's going for president, they're going to have to say yes or no. So if they say, oh, no, we're not going to take away the UBI, think about it like that. So now for the rest of our generations, we'll have that set for them. So think about it in that fashion. And then on top of that, just think about everything that Bernie's saying times 10 it. That's what you get the Yang. Andrew Yang did the math times 10 what Bernie Sanders doing. Well, if that don't sell you to the Yang gang, watch some more videos. They coming soon. Not just mine, but everybody's a part of the Yang game, and you'll see how big this movement is becoming. So once you see that seeing is believing, you're going to start believing it. When you start seeing Andrew Yang move up further and further, I can't pronounce that word correctly. I'm sorry, I apologize. But you see him moving up in the polls. And then the Yang gang still arms will be welcome to each and every person, because we are multicultural and multi-gender and everything else. That's why you see the stuff about what the Asians got going on, about what do they think prejudice. Think about it. This is a whole different generation. You would have never seen it in the 60s. They should make a movie about that. You know, give us something different. You know, we tired of seeing the same movies. Give us something brand new. I think that'd be something different. Well, anyway, though, this your boy Triple Cup Chuck, and I'm out. And remember, I don't do this for me. I do this for we. That's everybody. We out this thing.